is Sayed Farouk. I did about 20 years of IT. I've been around a while, different organizations, worked in different industries as well. The one thing I can say about myself is that I have maybe a bit of a mix of different skills, but I'm a very process-centric. So this morning I spent a few minutes with myself trying to contemplate and trying to think about how can I make a process a bit more fun. And then I realized it's a process, it's a routine. I don't have to make the effort to make it this way. And if you guys are here, that means you're interested in understanding the process. So I thought that would be a very good start to just say and put a caveat that a process doesn't have to be fun, but it needs to be simple. And it needs to be suitable to the business and suitable to the culture of the company. A process is there to ensure that something has been done in a certain way, and it needs to be successful. So I just thought I'll give you a bit of, an introduction about myself and what I've done. As I said, I've been around the houses for a while. I worked in FIFA, UEFA. I've been the deputy head of IT for Manchester United Football Club. Right now, I'm the head of IT for a company called Black Tomato. Black Tomato is, we do events and we do travel, but we only do like a very bespoke travel. So people who are actually like celebrities and stuff like that, these are the kind of customer we have. So today I'm going to talk to you about how to make your changes successful. We will explore the benefits, the guidelines, and the implementation. Without any further ado, let's just start with something like a bit of a code. We all do changes every day. I mean, if somebody moved from one chair here to the other chair, you're actually doing that change. And you're doing this because you want a different perspective. You have an incentive to do it. You're doing it and you think about, is it successful or not? How I'm going to do it? We all have some kind of, you think about something and you say, my gut feeling is this. But what's actually making your gut feeling? What it is? It's something that your subconscious thinking about it and telling you that this is maybe right or wrong. And therefore, you need something or you need a tool to help you or to help your gut feeling give you the right kind of decision. Therefore, change is an everyday routine. Everybody do changes. You come here today from your house to here, you made a change. You come here for an incentive. You do everything in your life as a change. So it's very constant and it's relentless. It doesn't stop. So why don't we look at it in a little bit of perspective? And if after this 20 minutes, I can get you guys to think about change in a little bit of a different perspective, I consider this a success. So let's dive together. Why we resisted change? Any idea, guys? Change?
Fear of the unknown.
Exactly. Anything else?
Ingrained in like old ways of doing things.
Exactly. So change is about it challenging the status quo. It's not about, I just want to make a change because it's a change or it's something new, okay? So what comes with the change is a risk, the risk of the unknown, the risk that you might do something and it's not being successful. You might do something and you feel like, well, that was not a very good successful change, or we did a project and that project got bust. Okay, well, we all face those kind of situations. It's just about how we're going to put together or string together few processes or categorization or prioritization for the change that we would like to do. The change management is there to offer some guidance. It's not a one-size-fits-all. You need to customize it to your needs. It's not what you think it's, this is the bar, and I'm going to have to follow those kind of steps. It's not like that at all. Processes are there to be followed. Yes, we do understand all of this, but it needs to be customized to your organization. You need to be able to follow it with ease, and the steps need to be clear, whether inside IT or outside IT. So even when people come and ask you about, I want to engage you in that project, or we're thinking about a new strategy for our digital, or we need a new HR system, or we're going to change something, it's all changes at the end of the day. And we all guys work in IT, we talk about vision, transformation, programs, projects, all those kind of things. But essentially, the smallest unit of what you're actually doing is a change. So you hear the phrase, look after the pennies, and the pounds will look after itself. Look after the change management, and your strategy will look after itself. That's basically it. It's exactly the same. It's the same principle. So, success factors. You've got to have 5 things in your change management in order to succeed. Vision, skills, resources, incentive, and an action plan. But if you don't have any of those elements, you're actually generating different outcome. So let's say if you don't have a vision, you create confusion. If you don't have skills, you have anxiety because people doesn't know how to do it. Okay? If you don't have the resources, you generate frustration. If you don't have the incentive, you get resistance. If you don't have the action plan, you get chaos. And that's basically why you must have those 5 things when you're making a change. Whether that change is small or big or major or standard or whatever. We're going to go through this in a few minutes. So these are the successful, what the successful change should look like. The benefits, it mitigates risk, reduce the cost, and avoid the impact. That's basically why we implemented change management. But let's see how we actually mitigate that risk. We mitigate the risk of reworking things. You do something, it's not successful, oh, we're going to have to do it again. You lose time, you lose resources, and you lose money and effort, obviously. You reduce the incidents when you create the change, and oops, we changed something here that we didn't account for maybe another system, or you changed something in the configuration of the database, and you didn't account for an API, for example, that it basically doesn't work. And it makes the transition easier. So when you're creating a change, you're basically doing that transition into a new way of doing things. It makes it easier for people because just guide you through. It needs to be fluent, easy, a path to what you're actually trying to change. I'm going to say the change word a lot of time today. I'm sorry about that. But the session is about change, sorry. So reducing the cost, yeah, it actually gives you a better prediction for your budget. If you're following the very small guidelines, you probably will forecast a lot better. It gives you a bit better, more tracking about the changes that you do, and your delivery will be a lot easier as well. Avoid impact by reducing that MTRS, the time between, restoring a service, or between the service is stopped and restoring it. It obviously boosts your availability and give you a little bit more protection and assurance about changes that you're trying to do. The guidelines. So normally changes have some kind of guidelines. You need to understand what are the changes you do. You need to categorize them. You need to give them some kind of classifications. You need to understand what are the priorities of those changes. So let's say you're doing you have a vision or you have a strategy, and that strategy includes some programs inside it, and obviously the programs include some projects. Okay, so which project you're going to start first? How you're going to prioritize this? The categorization is very important because you need to look at yourself and measure it. Am I innovating something here, or protecting something, or I'm trying to rectify something? That is really important. And the classification here is to say, okay, I have few changes that I do every day, and that should go into your SOP, your operation. It needs to be delegated. It's something normal. It's something that you do without you even thinking about it. It's a pre-approved change. So let's have a look on those classifications first. A standard change is a change that is it's pre-approved. You do every day. You employ someone to do a job, and during that job description, you're actually entering the pre-approval for the changes that you're delegating to that person to do it every day. That's a standard change. Doesn't need any process. It's actually in your operation. A normal change, normally you have some time to plan, to understand what you would like to change. You look at the impact, you assess the risk, you create an RFC or something like that, and we will talk about the set of documents in a few minutes. Emergency change, this is the worst because it's reactive. It's not something that you actually, planning for. You have to do it because it's emergency. It's something that got break that you have to, change in order to get the service back again. Major change, a huge big thing that will change the entire way that we all work. The entire routine of working. Like, for example, doing something like moving house. If you're moving house, that's a huge change. You have to account for your energy bills and whatever that comes after this. Your commute to work, do you have a place to put your car in or not? All those kind of things. But a major change in business, that means it's a fundamental change in the routine that you do every day. And therefore, you have to plan for it. You have to understand exactly how things are going to work, how things are going to land. You have to map what you do now and what you're going to do in the future. Typically, in any organization, you have this. 94% of the changes are actually standard change, things that you do every day. It's already pre-approved. You don't have to think about it. It's sitting in your SOP. You don't have to do anything about it. And then 3% of the changes are the normal change, things that we have to think and assess the risk and implement and make sure it works. And then you have the emergency one, which is really bad, and the major change, which is, as we just explained. So categorization here, as I said, it's so important and it's vital for any leader in IT. You need to understand where you're going, what you're doing. This is to look back of last year, for example. Let's just think about it. What did you do last year? Did you innovate? Did you protect? Or did you rectify? Okay, so innovating something or preventing a risk or preventing an impact or correcting something that you've done in the past and you saw that's not working, I'm going to make a change. Yeah? So this, in my view, and obviously it's up to you guys, this is the most important thing that you have to measure every year. You have to look back every few months, for example, and say, okay, I did few changes, but what I'm actually doing. Am I doing some, I'm getting some headways here, or I'm just fighting fires or putting fires down, or what I'm really doing. That's your measure. That's basically, you have to classify your changes like that. Basically, you have to give them categories like that. And then the prioritization. Obviously, it's a bit of a wordy slide, but please take a picture of it, and I'm more than happy to share the entire presentation with you. But these are things that, they must be within your routine. You have to make sure that you prioritize the changes and just make sure one change have to come first, and then the second, the third, and so on. So how actually the change work? What are this process? The process, it's a bit of like, most people think about it that is like another burden that I have to put on my staff, or just too much of checkpoints or something like that. It's actually very simple. And it's not about having to comply with everything in the process. It's about how to make the change with the least pain possible for everybody in your staff and the company. So it actually depends on you and how you actually sell it to the people around you. You need the buy-in from inside and outside. From inside your department, because you need the buy-in from your staff. You need to understand it's not for them to make a few extra steps or fill some forms or something like that. You can make it as simple as a conversation. You can make it as simple as a little meeting, or inject it into your project meetings and say, what are the risks here? What are we doing? Are we protecting, or are we innovating, or correcting again? So the process is simple. Yes, there is a list of maybe forms or steps, but at the end of the day, that's something for your records. That RFC doesn't have to be filled with all those bullet points. You can just make it as simple as just tell me what's the impact. What do you think about the impact for that change? What's the risk that we might be facing here? Okay, and in its very, very simple form, it's a request for a change, it's a meeting, and it's an execution. That's exactly what we're doing. So it's up to you to make it simple or to make it complicated. But at the same time, keep it simple, it works. Basically, don't fix something that doesn't need to be fixed. So RFC should include the change details, the impact assessment, the priority, the category, the class of the classification of the change, and the risk assessment for it. And then the CAP, which is the change advisory board. That's basically a little meeting that you might have on a weekly basis, or you can actually include this point within your weekly meeting with your department heads, and just discuss what actually we're changing. What are the list of changes that we're doing this week, okay, and what we've done last week, and whether it was successful or not. And then you go for the implementation. You execute the change. You obviously have to list the failback plan and review and close the change. This is the perfect scenario. So, RFC, CAP, implement, and then you close the RFC. That's the perfect scenario. What happens if you have a problem? You go back to the cap, you start to discuss again what goes wrong, and then go back to the RFC, update it with the risk and the change that you've done and why it's gone wrong. Then you have to go and ask yourself before you make any changes. This is very wordy. Don't read it all. I'll share the slides, but these are a list of questions that you have to ask yourself or challenge anybody that would like to make a change. Okay, you don't have to ask all the questions. It can be as simple as 1 or 2 questions, but it all depends on how your department run and how big is your organization. If it's a big organization, a lot of stakeholders around, you have to ask all those questions. That's what I believe. All the challenges need to be there before the change happen. Okay, but you can make it as simple as a couple of questions. It all depends on the situation, the change that you would like to do, and how you want to run it. Implementation. As I said, the successful change, it only looks like a change management on top, but there are loads of challenges underneath. Okay, and those challenges you can split it into outside of IT and inside of IT. You also have challenges from your staff. They will come and challenge you and say, well, why are we doing this? I know how to do that. I'm doing it every day. Why are you asking me to fill a form? I'm not asking you to fill a form. You can make it as simple as a tick box. I would like to make a normal change, okay? And then the process, from then, the process triggered and start to follow all the steps. So outside of IT, you need an approved process. This obviously includes some discussions with the other departments' heads. Let them understand that, by the way, guys, if you're asking us to do something and we classify it as a change, we might follow this process and that it needs to be done this way. If it needs to be suitable to your company, obviously. It's all about how to tailor-made this process and make it suitable for you and for your culture. Okay, for example, I've always worked in big companies, but now I'm the head of IT for a small company, a small department. Am I going to give them a process like that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay, I'm just going to make it as simple as, right, you want to make a change? Yes. Tell me where that change is. Tell me why we're doing that change. And tell me what might impact. And then how it actually sits, where it sits from other changes that we're doing. Because changes might conflict with each other. So that's why you need some kind of a record and a process. Clear communication. You need to communicate your process to the other department within the company. And a process awareness. You might do this in your company update. By the way, guys, we're going to make our process a bit more streamlined, and we're going to ask you to fill a form if you would like to make a change. Right, within IT, you need a lot of knowledge transfer. People within the IT, they need to understand what are the change management, why we're doing it, and they have to see the benefits behind it. Because you can't actually, it's very difficult to manage somebody who's not buying in of what you're actually doing. Gradual implementation, and we're going to speak about the implementation in a few minutes. And workshops and training, you need to train them on the process. Processes like fitness. Today you run 5K, for example. Tomorrow you're gonna run 6K. After 6 months you can run the marathon. It's fitness. It's basically it. Okay, you do the exercise. It takes you 5 minutes this time. Next time it will take you 30 seconds. This is it. So documentation, do you have to use all those documentations? Not necessary, unless if you're a part of a quite big company and there are lots of people to manage, different departments, stuff like that. But if you're in a medium-sized company, small company, don't need this. You have to use what is actually suitable for you. So how now there is an important question. How you manage your process, how actually you see the success of your implementation, and if your process is actually working or not. So there are some guidelines. You can see the lags and the leads and lags for your process, but you have to KPI the process itself. You have to understand, ask yourself, maybe in 3 months, in 6 months, in 9 months, it depends on how big is your organization is, and see and tell yourself, am I just overcooking it here, or maybe over-engineering it? Okay, just make it as simple as, make it as suitable as possible to your company. So after 3 months, you will see an increase of the correctly filled RFCs. So because at the beginning, you will see people are, I don't understand that. Can you help me with this? I'm not filling it. I missed the impact section, for example. After 6 months, you will see the staff maturity much better, and you already start doing it without you asking them, to do it. After 9 months, you will see the processes, leads and lags. And the next slide is a bit wordy. I'm not going to go through it, but it's worth just taking a picture of it or maybe note it. You will see a lot of increases and decreases along the way. So, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, whatever you're doing, you have a vision, you have a strategy, a program, a project, whatever you're doing, it's actually a change. And as the workshop subject is, or title, the change management is your vehicle. Thank you very much. Thank you.